Welcome to a special edition of Talk to America. Because of your many requests for a Talk to America program about shortwave radio, international broadcasting, communications technology, and the like, we thought that we would start the new year by featuring a program on these highly requested topics. Our guest host today is Dr. Kim Elliott of VOA's Communications World. We'll be back with our regular program on Thursday. Happy New Year, everyone, from all of us at Talk to America. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Dr. Kim Elliott.
Welcome to this live New Year's edition of Communications World. I'm Kim Elliott in Washington. If you would like to call in and talk about any aspect of international broadcasting, the number is 1 for the USA, 202 for Washington, 619-3111. That's 1-202-619-3111. Also, if there's any time today, we have some recordings of radio stations ringing in the year 2003. I'd also be very curious to know if anybody's watching on television, and if you are, please make a special effort to call in. Do we have any calls ready to go? Okay, Tarek, are you on the line? Hello, Tarek Zaidan in Egypt?
Yeah.
Now I think I'm hearing you. Tarek?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Oh, good.
5/9. How are you doing? Happy New Year to you and all the crew down there.
Yes, Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you very much for being the first call today.
The pleasure is all mine.
Now, you are probably one of the few shortwave DXers that we know of in Egypt, and you've said in past years that it's difficult to be a shortwave DXer in Egypt. Is that still the case?
Well, as a matter of fact, it is. Nothing happened since... if you remember, Kim, we had a chat on the first day of January 2002. And now we are doing it again here on 2003. So the situation is still the same. Very few DXers, as a matter of fact, and shortwave band is getting, a little bit crowded with this. A lot of clandestine stations beamed, to the Middle East countries, to Iraq, Iran, and, So, as a matter of fact, it's still the same, I would say.
But you have acquired some satellite receiving equipment. Are you using that more than your shortwave radio these days?
For very special cases, mainly I'm listening to the shortwave bands, but sometimes it's pretty difficult to get the stations on the shortwave bands. So in that case only, I switch to the satellite receiver. For instance, there were a new clandestine station beamed to Saudi Arabia called Al-Islah Radio. This one is heavily jammed on the shortwave band, so on the satellite it's of course loud and clear. So sometimes when I couldn't get it on the shortwave bands, I just switched to the receiver to hear it loud and clear,
Indeed. Now, Tarek, are you hearing Radio Sawa on its medium wave frequency from Cyprus of 981 kilohertz?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I made a couple of reports about this one because, I have to compare between 981 coming from Cyprus and 1260 coming from, Greece. 981 is not as good as 1260, of course, and on the same frequency there is an interference from a Greek station transmitting on the same frequency, 981, so it's not a good frequency, I would say.
So I take it then that the Radio Sawa medium wave is not as good as, say, the BBC or Radio Monte Carlo medium waves from Cyprus.
Exactly. The BBC on 639 kilohertz is it's on almost 24 hours a day now in Arabic and only 30 minutes in English. So it's very loud and clear, and it's stable all day long. Monte Carlo is not on 1233 kilohertz is not. During daytime it's fainting and as not as good as when it's nighttime here in Cairo.
Yes, indeed. How about Radio Sawa on shortwave? Have you tried that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, on Saturdays, which is my weekend around here, I try to switch to shortwave bands to check if Sawa is on. I got a couple of frequencies, and I can hear Radio Sawa on the shortwave bands mainly on Saturday morning.
Okay. Any thoughts about the programming from Radio Sawa?
Well, to be honest, I would say that I'm 35 years old, and the formula of the program is just it's just one song in Arabic and another one in English, and it's mainly targeting the youth down there in the Middle East and the Arab countries. I used to be. I grew up listening to the Voice of America, the Arabic section. The old transmissions, like when they have sort of Talk to America program in Arabic, getting phone calls from listeners and reading the listeners' letters, and sometimes they play music and the Billboard Top 10 and all that stuff. So it's sort of a mix. News, music, and current affairs and stuff like that. But when you tune into Radio Sawa, it's mainly music and like 10 or 15 minutes during the whole hour only dedicated to, like snapshots of the latest news going on all over the world. So I would say that I'd rather, prefer the old formula of the voice, the Arabic section of Voice of America,
Yes, but at age 35, Tarek, you're too old. You're just getting too old. So... Anyway, thank you very much for being the first call, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you every year, and please keep in touch on the email, all right?
The pleasure is all mine. You bet I will do a Happy New Year to everybody down there. Thank you very much, Kim.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Now, I think David Ansel in England might be on the line. David?
Yes, I am, Kim.
There he is. How are you doing, David?
I'm very well, thank you. Happy New Year to you and to all the listeners.
Happy New Year to you as well. England also, UK, not considered a big shortwave listening country, but you're one of the shortwave listeners in that country.
Yes, indeed. I enjoy shortwave, and it's far better than the internet or satellite. It's far more exciting, and I think it does have a future.
Well, by exciting, do you mean the reception is not always clear and it's an adventure?
Well, it's a bit of an adventure, sometimes to tune out the interference, and sometimes there's static, but it's exciting. You can take it on holiday with you, you can take it out with you, which you can't do with the internet and the satellite.
So it has a certain portability to it.
That's right.
Yeah, I understand that. How did you see in the new year?
Well, we were with a group of friends from my church in their house, and we had about 50 people in this house, and we had a wonderful time together.
That's good. Did you get a chance to do any listening over the New Year's to any of the special programs?
Not really. I've just been so busy at work and one thing and another, but today is the first day I've really been able to do some shortwave listening for some time.
Have you been able to hear this hour from VOA?
I have indeed, yes.
And you're getting, how's the reception today?
Well, I'm on 15240 from Morocco, which is coming in extremely well indeed.
Well, that's very good to know, because often in the UK, shortwave reception can be marginal for VOA.
Yes, it can be, that's right.
All right. Well, David, thank you. All the best for the new year to you.
Okay then, Kim. Thank you very much indeed. Nice to hear from you.
Okay, and we're going to now try some of the calls coming in. And I have a call from Bide in Japan. Hello, Bide?
Yes. Good evening to all the listeners, and of course, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. A very happy early morning of the 2nd to you, I think.
Yeah, sure.
So, are you a shortwave listener, a DXer in Japan?
Actually, I just arrived here in Japan on a political program, but I come from Uganda, obviously, and I'm going to London before going back to Uganda on 5th of this month.
And did you just happen to be listening to the Voice of America?
Currently, I'm not listening, although I am just keeping in touch. This is something that I always listen to all the time. I had only one comment to make. Of course, as we are in the new year, because I'm a former guild president of Makerere University, I would like that at least you put some of former student leaders in Africa, because these are particularly people who, in most cases, again, lead the nations in Africa. If you engage them in such programs as permanent talk shows, it would also give us a lot of credit, and of course, upcoming leaders for the African continent.
All right, so student leaders in Africa. I'll make that note and pass it on to the people who make the decisions here.
Yeah, sure.
Good.
Otherwise, we love the program so much, and we really think without you, we would not have the best world that we must have to stay in.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and we know that we have many listeners in Africa, and we put a lot of effort broadcasting to your continent. Well, thank you, and all the best for the new year to you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, and now we have Seti on the line. Another call in or call out? Oh, it's Tarun Seti in India.
Yeah, hi. I'm Tarun Sethi from New Delhi, India. Kim, I've been a regular shortwave listener, DXer, ever since I was in school, and probably today I'm a media journalist. What I have been noticing, in this part of the world, South Asia, Africa, the third world countries, the cable revolution, the satellite television has just landed, say, about 10 years ago. And as it was exposed to the audiences here, the radio listening has been, drastically down. And probably what I see at this moment is all the major broadcasters who were earlier like centralizing or dedicating more hours upon its audiences in third world are now drastically cutting down, like may it be Swiss Radio, which has totally cut down to internet and satellite broadcasting, or Radio France International, or any other one. They are like now not broadcasting on shortwave that much. And probably this move is, I think, a wrong one in the long run, because radio till date happens to be the fastest, the least expensive, and the most heard medium of information or infotainment, whatever it might be. And I don't know why, but some steps or initiatives should be taken through ITU or local initiative that the shortwave broadcast should originate again and be aimed to particular communities all over the globe. Now what I see is evangelist radio stations coming more, except for any other ones, maybe news or whatever. Even VOA hasn't started off with something new, except for RFI or RFL, Radio Free Liberty, or Radio Azadi, whatever.
Well, Taran, though, you're getting a lot of international news via television now in India. Doesn't that take the place of shortwave?
No, I'll tell you something. Kim, as far as television is concerned, let me tell you one thing. The access to television and then to cable is restricted only to metros or suburban areas. And probably because encrypting of the signal is there, not everybody can afford it. Not even the cable operators, they can afford it. So they only go for the free-to-air channels, okay? And it's not feasible for a person who's working to watch a television and do the work simultaneously. Whereas on radio, you can watch the television and do listen to the radio and do your work simultaneously.
Taran, do you think FM?
One thing more. I'm getting a little longer, but a small comment. Whereas I think till date there is nothing which can match a radio.
Yeah.
Probably may it be infotainment, music, news, whatever. The radio has been the ultimate medium of broadcasting. I was a small child and I grew up with VOA. Today, wherever my mental level stands, trust me, I give it all dues to VOA, because I know the way I grew up, it was like listening to VOA News Now or whatever, VOA News at that time. I'm talking about 1986, 87. There was no other medium, and jamming in 1991 when we used to listen to the popular, most English music, which was aimed to the U.S. forces in the Gulf. That was something exciting. There is an excitement there.
All right. Well, Taran, I got to move on to some other callers, but thank you for being an enthusiastic radio listener in India. We need all of them that we can get. And all the best for you in 2003. Robert in New Zealand is a call-in, very patient. Do you hear me now, Robert? Hello, Robert in New Zealand.
I say hello, Kim, from a very hot Auckland, watching you here on Triangle Television and finally being able to put a face to the name.
A face to the name. Are you watching?
Just a brief aside. Interesting, I've noticed with the VOA TV programs how you've resurrected some of the old VOA radio names like This Week and Newsline. I was wondering yourself, a couple of questions a couple of things I'm particularly interested in knowing. One of them is what you yourself have been doing since the tragic demise of CW, Communications World. And is there any chance that either something like Communications World or at least a reappearance on Talk to America by yourself might be in the offing in the future? And any chance, a bit of influence, at least by the listeners, if they do all they can to try and persuade the powers that be to see something of its like again?
Well, right now I'm an audience research analyst for the International Broadcasting Bureau, which is the parent bureaucracy of VOA, and so I'm doing a lot of studies. That was my job when I first came here in 1985. As for Communications World coming back, that's for the decision makers to decide whether they need me more in research or in broadcasting, so that's for the year to come. Now, you're watching me on television right now?
That's right, on Triangle TV, Auckland's regional television station, which is at least until early February. I suspect the Chinese will return in there early February. They seem to alternate this. The Chinese television program and from CCTV4 mainly for some time.
Is this
and then Talk to America depend on daylight saving.
Right, so is this an on-air television or a cable television channel?
This is, UHF TV.
And this UHF station in New Zealand carries a lot of international programming.
Quite a lot. There's a number of regional stations. This is the one for Auckland, and they vary obviously from station to station, but quite a few of them carry quite a bit of international program, and mainly VOA, WorldNet, and Deutsche Welle, but also some ones like TV5 from France as well.
All right. Well, that's fascinating. Thank you very much for letting me know that, and it's good to know where we have outlets on television. So please keep in touch in the new year, and we'll see what happens.
Yes, last thing, I'd like to know if you've got any views yourself on how VOA's been doing, particularly in the last year, because I myself think that it may not be a coincidence that both reception and programming-wise, things have not been looking good, and they've been deteriorating, though, not only VOA by any means, particularly in the last year to year and a half. And do you see that there might be any changes that can be made? And particularly with, like I said, the Communications World program, do you think listeners could have any influence on the powers that be as to any decisions they might make? Where do you think the listeners could most have a benefit in any actions they take?
Well, listeners should certainly keep in touch and make their views known about any aspect of programming or reception, and our audience mail effort has been revived a bit lately, and it is doing a better job now of routing the comments to the people who make the relevant decisions. So by all means, do that. English is very difficult for us to measure the audience because it's spread around the world. And so we have a hard time really tracking how well we're doing in the English language. But we'll see how that goes. Robert, thanks for your patience, and thanks very much for tuning in, and keep in touch.
Oh, he's having to hear from you again. So.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Control room, I think Ron Negus will be next, South Africa. Hello, Ron.
Hello. Hello, is that you, Kim?
That is I. How are you, Ron?
Hello, Kim. I want to wish you a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
And all your colleagues over there from Cape Town.
Thank you. Many of them are here.
And also your son, Ian.
Yes,
I remember your son, Ian, coming into the studio.
Right. I was careful. Well, I decided not to bring him in today. I had enough things to worry about. But he's
good.
He's fine. He's 7 years old now and at home.
Good. I'm very pleased to hear that.
So, how about your radio activities lately? Are you a shortwave DXer or a satellite viewer or an internet audio receiver?
Well, I'm mainly interested in the shortwave, Kim. But, we pick you up here beautifully in Cape Town. At the moment, you're on 13710, coming through at 520 plus. So we get very, very good signals from you over here. And also your Asian stream, we get the 15395, which comes through at a tremendous rate here. I listened in this afternoon at 1400 to your program on 15395, and it was very, very good. I was very pleased to hear all the various people from the directors, and I'm so pleased to hear that radio is going to continue for many years. From what they've said, it looks as if radio will continue, even though some of the shortwave stations are closing down.
Well, if this audience has anything to say about it, radio will continue. I think South Africa is one of the places where VOA can be seen on television via multi-choice. Do you watch that service?
Yes, I've got multi-choice, but I can't get VOA on television.
Oh, okay.
I've got VOA on audio, but not on television.
Oh, okay, I see. So there's an audio feed via the satellite.
Yes, we've got that here.
Oh, good.
And Kim,
yes.
Kim, while you're on, we're very disappointed, of course, that Communications World stopped earlier this year. And, it was one of the highlights for us, quite a few of us in Cape Town. It was one of the highlights of the week to hear you. And we're hoping that one of these days it'll come back again.
Well, we'll see what happens in the new year, and appreciate your support, and perhaps, who knows. But, Ron, thank you very much for volunteering to be on the phone today, and please keep in touch during the new year, and Happy New Year.
Okay, thanks very much.
Can we try some of the calls in? I see a Richard in the Congo, if that's a possibility. Hello, Richard?
Standing by.
Richard in Congo.
Good evening. Happy New Year. Happy New Year there.
Happy New Year to you as well. You work for a VOA station?
Well, actually, we have our own private station. We've been on the air for 10 years, and this is our anniversary right now, at Christmas time 10 years ago. And for some years, we've been broadcasting Communications World every time it was on. And our main programming is in French, however, and so we've made exceptions for your program. And I keep copies of it. It's one of my favorite programs.
I appreciate that, and it's an affiliate I never knew about. What's the name of your station, and which Congo are you in?
The generic name is Radio Kauhuzi, but it's actually Bukavu Extension Service Technical Radio, or Best Radio. And we used FM for 10 years, and then now we're doing shortwave also. And basically, we visited VOA before going on the air with the equipment, and had an agreement where we were allowed to rebroadcast. And for a while, we even were rebroadcasting the news, but we're in the Republic Democratic du Congo, RCD, and that's the former Zaire.
Yes. What's the shortwave frequency?
On shortwave, 6210, and it's just off the 49-meter band,
right,
which stops at 6200, but we basically consider ourselves on the 49-meter band.
And do you find you have some listeners to that shortwave outlet?
As soon as we went on, we're in Bukavu, which is about halfway north-south in mid-Congo. We had people call in from Bunia, which is all together at the northern end of Congo. Other people contacted us from Nairobi, and we've had public officials come back from Moba, which is in the south of Congo, giving us very good reports, very, very good quality.
How much power is your transmitter?
Our transmitter, we requested a transmitter for 1,000 watts, but we cut back to 800 watts, partly so it doesn't bother anybody in Kinshasa, since the country has been divided for these many years with different strife and so on.
Yeah.
But we do rebroadcast local news here, so that would keep it from bothering people too much. We aren't quite strong enough to really penetrate into the capital city.
Right. Well, Richard, thank you. That's a fascinating story, and keep in touch and let me know how things are going in the new year, and Happy New Year to you.
Okay.
All the best.
One thing I should...
I got to run, actually, sure. Richard. We're getting to our break. Thanks very much anyway.
I'll let you go.
We'll be back after the news headlines at the bottom of the hour with more live Communications World.
I'm Jeffrey Young, VOA News. A top South Korean diplomat, Deputy Foreign Minister Lee Tai-shik, has arrived in China as part of diplomatic moves aimed at pressuring North Korea to give up its nuclear program. South Korea is also expected to dispatch envoys to Russia and Japan for talks on the North Korean nuclear issue. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State James Kelly is due to travel to Seoul next week to talk about the issue with South Korean President-elect Roh Moo-hyun. UN weapons inspectors in Iraq conducted 3 more searches for banned weapons in the Baghdad area. UN sources say that the experts will also start using helicopters to carry out inspections. Meanwhile, a newspaper run by Saddam Hussein's son Uday is calling on Arabs to follow the lead of North Korea and defy the United States. Arab-Israeli political leaders say that they will call for a boycott of the upcoming elections unless an Arab-Israeli lawmaker and his party
Welcome back to this live Communications World on a New Year's Day. Talk to America will be back tomorrow. We're going to go back to our calls. Vikas in India has been on hold for 20 minutes. I hope he's still there. Vikas in India, thank you for being so patient. Hello, Vikas.
Hello, Kim. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Where are you in India?
Yeah, I'm calling from Delhi. Apart from the things which have already been mentioned in this program, one thing I want to bring to your notice that I don't know about rest of India, but as far as Delhi is concerned, your reception in Delhi is getting poorer and poorer day by day. There was a time when we used to get your reception so clear. I mean, it used to give us the feeling as we were listening to a local radio station. But nowadays, this is not only with the English service of the Voice of America, but also with the Hindi service of the Voice of America. This reception is getting very poor. Many other stations have started coming in the way of Voice of America. So I want to know, what is the procedure of getting the space on the short wave? Like, there's no, why many stations at the same space come together. I mean, there's no clarity in stations.
Yeah, it's too bad, and I really don't understand why this is the case. I've heard similar comments from other listeners in India lately. We have a relay in Sri Lanka, and that should be providing very good reception in India because it's just the perfect distance from Sri Lanka to northern India for shortwave. Do you notice that the signal is strong, but there's interference from other stations, or is the signal just plain weak?
Yeah, sometimes the signals are very good, but other stations come in the way of Voice of America, and those stations are so clear, the Voice of America reception gets, poorer.
Well, one thing you can do, and other DXers in India could do, is tune around in the band, and if you notice any frequencies that are just clear, especially with no loud stations on either side of the frequency, mention those frequencies. You could send me an email or send me a letter, but the email is cwforcommunicationsworld@voanews.com, and I'll mention those frequencies to our frequency people, and maybe we can use them. There is some coordination on shortwave, but it's never perfect, and there are always problems.
Okay, what is the criteria of receiving your transmission on satellite? We can't receive your transmission on satellite in Delhi?
Well, I think it requires some fairly sophisticated equipment because our satellite service is really more for radio stations and TV stations that relay us rather than for the general public. I know that WorldSpace is active in India, but VOA is not on WorldSpace yet, or I don't know if there's any plans to be on WorldSpace. That's a possibility perhaps for the future, but that would help, wouldn't it?
And my last question is that how do you select the parts of the world where you have to air your programs on television?
On television?
Why not India?
Well, I think technically we are on the air to India. It's just a matter of having the equipment, and I'm afraid in India it would be fairly sophisticated equipment. You might be able to contact your local cable system and see if they would be interested in relaying VOA/WorldNet TV. That's a possibility.
Yeah, we receive CNN, but no other American channel.
Right, so if they can relay CNN, then they perhaps can relay VOA as well. It's just a matter of them making that decision. So we'll see what we can do. But thanks very much for calling in.
Oh, thanks a lot.
All the best in the new year. Bye.
Yeah.
Now we'll go some calls out, and I think Aaron Goldberg in Israel is one of our volunteers to be on the telephone. Are you hearing me, Aaron?
Yes.
And did I pronounce your first name correctly?
That's pretty close. It's Aharon.
Aharon.
In Hebrew, but Aaron is also okay.
I didn't know if it was like a silent H or if it was a H I should
Hebrew
stress.
Hebrew is pronounced H.
Aharon.
Okay.
I will do my best. Please tell me, are you a shortwave listener and DXer or just a regular?
I listen, when I used to catch VOA, it was on the regular AM stations, the channels, and unfortunately we don't get it here in my neighborhood.
You were listening to 1260 kilohertz via Greece, I think, before, and that is now all Radio Sawa, I think.
Right. I guess I don't get VOA, at least not in English. So unfortunately I don't hear it.
So you don't have a shortwave radio?
No.
If you can get a shortwave radio, I think you would be able to hear VOA, but I don't know if that's you consider that's worth purchasing.
If it's a simple shortwave radio, I might consider it. But, Fortunately, I have other news sources as well in English, so without denigrating VOA, I do have, news broadcasts from various countries in English.
Is radio your preferred medium for news?
No, not particularly. Wherever there's a news station, a news broadcast, I try to listen, whether it's TV or radio. I don't go into sophisticated communication systems, and I have, a regular radio and regular television, not even cable.
Of the international stations available to you, which ones are you still listening to?
On the radio?
Yes.
Essentially, it's BBC now.
And that you can hear via medium wave, I think, from Cyprus?
On the medium wave, yes. And also around, I forgot the numbers, the 1200, 1300 area.
You just tune them in. They're probably dominant on the medium wave dial there.
Hello?
Yes. Well, anyway, thanks very much for that report. Perhaps someday we can get back on medium wave in English, especially if Radio Sawa can find some other medium wave frequencies to use. And so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But that's good feedback. Thank you for listening.
Have a good year.
You too. All the best.
Okay.
And maybe we'll try David Norrie in New Zealand next. David, New Zealand.
Good morning, Kim.
Good morning. Is it 6:35 a.m. there? Is that the correct time?
That's about right. Yes. Sun's been up for a couple of hours.
But what are you doing up so early?
I enjoy tuning into your program, Kevin. And when I heard it was on, I thought it was a good idea to listen in for old time's sake. Yes. And you're coming in very, very well. David Ansel will be pleased to hear that 15240 is coming in really well here.
That's amazing. So that frequency is doing well in England as well as in New Zealand at this very minute.
Indeed it is, as well as 17895, I think, which is also beamed to Africa. I don't know where that's coming from.
Right. Well, now it's already the morning of Thursday, January 2nd in New Zealand. Do you have to go to work today?
No, it's a national holiday here, Kim, so most people are, I guess, recovering from the New Year's celebration. So we've got a couple of days to recover, and then we're back to work on Friday, which is tomorrow here.
All right, that's good. I've always wanted to know what the news is going to be the next morning, and since it's already the next morning in New Zealand, so you can tell us, have there been any crises overnight?
I've actually only been listening on the shortwave bands, Kim, but I think the news that's dominating here is there's a cyclone up that's hit part of the Solomon Islands, and there's some islands that have been cut off, so I think that's the major news item.
Did any of that storm hit your part of New Zealand?
No, it hasn't come down. It's not expected to come down here as far as here, but I know that a couple of islands have been cut off, and there's been, I think, a rescue boat is on its way there to see what damage has been.
Tell us where you are in New Zealand.
I'm phoning from Auckland, which is the North Island, and it's the central part of the North Island.
Now, BBC is no longer broadcasting in English to your part of the world on shortwave. Are you still able to hear BBC World Service?
Yeah, we're lucky enough to have a medium wave output on 1476, which does very well in Auckland, but doesn't do particularly well outside Auckland. So those New Zealanders living outside Auckland really have to struggle. BBC on shortwave it's fine early morning, it's fine in the evening, but during the day it's a real washout because there's no frequencies that really are propagating in at that time.
Okay, David, that's 24 hours on medium wave, and do they insert commercials?
They do. For a couple of minutes, they have a buffering system whereby they sort of, I guess, erase out certain bits of the program so that you don't actually notice that you're losing a couple of minutes. So it's just ads on the hour at the top of the hour, and the rest of it is commercial free, which is great.
All right. Well, that's a fascinating system, but as you said, most of the parts of the world and even New Zealand don't have that privilege of a 24-hour outlet for world service.
Indeed, and it's become really, really hard to hear BBC, certainly during the day, our day. That's the real struggle. You have to have lots of memories and jump around quite a lot.
Yeah. Indeed. Well, thanks, David, very much for being the New Zealand representative on today's show.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to everyone there.
All the best for you in 2003. We have a listener, Paul, in the Philippines, has been on hold for 26 minutes. Yes, Paul in the Philippines. Are you still there?
Yes, hi, Kim.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Where are you in the Philippines?
Yes, I'm calling in from Quezon City.
Oh, and do you listen to Voice of America on shortwave?
Yeah, on shortwave, yes. We've lost WorldNet on our local cable system for quite some time now, But even before WorldNet came on cable, I've been listening to VOA on shortwave for quite a number of years now.
That's interesting. Since you are so close to our shortwave relay transmitters, I'm surprised that you're able to receive us, unless you're receiving us on your electrical appliances or something like that.
I'm listening in on 15395.
395. I think that is a Philippine relay, but I'm going to have to go look that up. Are you just a general listener, or would you consider yourself a DXer enthusiast?
I'm both a general listener and a DXer. General in the sense that when morning prime time comes in about 7 a.m. local, instead of tuning into the local medium wave stations, I normally tend to tune into to shortwave, mainly because medium wave here tends to be a little too focused on politics, and sometimes I just, I don't want to listen to politics at that early in the morning, so I'm listening to BBC, VOA, Deutsche Welle, and Save the MW for the commute to the office.
Do you think FM's more popular, or medium wave still more popular where you are?
Well, here in the urban areas, FM seems to be still popular, but for a lot of people in my country, AM is still the medium of choice when it comes to listening to news, especially breaking news.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. Thank you. I really don't hear very much from shortwave listeners in the Philippines, even though it is a major English-speaking country. I think part of the reason is that you're a little too close to our transmitters, but I'm glad you're tuning in.
I think one reason why is that most people here can speak English to some degree, and we do have a lot of English speaking outlets, both locally and internationally. We do receive CNN TV, BBC TV. So I don't think, well, at least here in the capital city, I don't think there are that many shortwave listeners. But I do know there are at least a couple of people who listen to foreign broadcasters. I took a trip to Cologne about in September, and I was visiting Deutsche Welle offices, and they told me that there were at least about 10 of us here, at least in Manila, that did regular monitoring work for them. So I suppose, I feel like there are at least 10 people I know.
Sure, that's interesting. That's fascinating. Now you say you're not getting WorldNet TV, but do you get any American television like CNN?
Oh yes, we do. We get CNN, we get Bloomberg. What else do we get? CNN, Bloomberg. We get CNBC sometimes. Mm-hmm. And we do get we get Fox TV, but not in my cable system, on some other guy's cable system. That's about it. We do get a lot of canned American shows on free-to-air TV. And we do have our own local programming in English. So I think that's the reason why I think not that many people listen to shortwave here, is because there's so much English programming everywhere.
Media saturated, I think we call it. So, well, okay. Paul, thank you very much for calling in, and
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and
I hope your program does come back on air. I do wait up for it at this. Well, it's about 1:45 a.m. here, and it's something that I wait for every Sunday, and I hope it does come back.
All right, I appreciate that very much. Could we try Do in Vietnam? I'm very interested to hear what this listener would like to say. In Vietnam, Do, are you hearing me?
Okay. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Where are you in Vietnam?
Ho Chi Minh City.
Yes.
I am a regular listener to VOA News, even in Vietnam it is midnight. Okay, so my question is, why do you have to change the frequency after 1 hour broadcast in a medium wave? Whenever I want to listen more, I have to change the frequency to shortwave.
Shortwave.
Okay.
I think you are listening on 1575 kilohertz. That's via Thailand. Does that sound right to you? Is that the frequency?
Yes, okay.
And the issue there is that transmitter has to be used for several VOA languages, and even some languages of Thai domestic radio. We use it, for example, to broadcast in Burmese and even into Bangla. And so because we have to share that transmitter with so many languages, that's why you have that frustrating experience of the station going off the air on that frequency, and then you have to retune to shortwave.
Okay, so why don't you change a little bit frequency? I mean, you can do another frequency in medium wave.
Well, we only have one transmitter in the area, in that region, on medium wave, and we have to use it for several different language services, and that's the problem. And frankly, we get more listeners in some of the other languages in Southeast Asia than in English. Not very many people speak English as well as you do.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
The problem here is whenever I change the frequency to the shortwave, the sound quality is not very good. It's not as good as the sound quality in a medium wave. And sometimes, I mean always, not sometimes, I am confused with the sound of the BBC World. And the sound quality of the BBC World is very good.
Yeah,
very clear. Why? Can you show me some method to fix the problem?
Well, their relay transmitter in Singapore has always done very well in Southeast Asia. Our relays in Thailand might be a little bit too close to Vietnam, and the Philippine relay might be a little too far away. But we'll do our best. You try all of the frequencies that we use, and perhaps one of them will come through. Well, thank you very much for your call. Happy New Year. All the best in 2003.
Okay, Happy New Year.
Bye. A little bit more time here. Let's try Daniel Giraud in South Africa.
Hello, Kim.
Hello, Daniel.
Good evening, Kim. Nice to hear you. Happy New Year to you.
Good to talk to you. Do you pronounce your last name in the French matter, Giraud?
Giraud in French.
Giraud. Is that how you say it, though, in South Africa?
Pardon?
Is that the way you say it in South Africa?
That's, well, in South Africa I said Giraud.
Oh, Giraud.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a bit difficult to pronounce, but that's not a problem.
Well, I'll try to say Giraud and get it right.
That's lovely, yes.
Where are you in South Africa?
I'm in Durban. Durban.
And are you listening now on shortwave to
yes,
VOA?
I'm listening to you now on 13710, and I must say it's very good reception.
Oh, we're always glad to hear about good reception.
Yes, lovely reception. Also, on 909 medium wave is also very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, those are quite good frequencies. In fact, there's quite a few people, avid shortwave listeners in Durban that do listen to your broadcast. There's quite a few, we have a few hams as well. And we really miss your communications with program, Kim.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. Do you think shortwave is still a useful medium in South Africa?
Definitely, Kim. And I really am a big fan of shortwave, and I do a lot of shortwave listening. In fact, we present on our ham radio net every Sunday morning. I present a little slot there for shortwave listeners, and they seem to really enjoy that.
Well, that's good. You have so many channels of television via satellite and cable, though.
Yes, we do have. We get CNN here. We get CNN. I don't have any satellite TV, but I do have a world-based receiver. But unfortunately, there's no VOA on that yet.
Yeah. Are you able to hear our medium wave on 909 kilohertz?
Yes, very good reception.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was curious to know how well that's doing that far south in South Africa.
Oh, yes. No, 909 is doing very well, very well indeed. Always not a problem to copy in the evenings, certainly. As you know now, it's almost about 8 o'clock at the evening here.
Yeah.
And it comes best at night. But lovely reception on 909.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Well, Daniel, thank you. I'm going to try to get a few more calls in before the hour is over.
Thanks very much for calling, and I do hope we can hear you again on Communications World.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Keep in touch during the new year. All the best.
We'll definitely do that. God bless, Ken.
All right.
Okay, then.
Goodbye. I think it's Paul in England. Hello, Paul in England. Thank you for being so patient.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
Oh, just getting over a cold, actually.
Oh, well, yes, get over that quickly. You don't need that.
They do hang around a bit.
I have a little note here on my screen that says internet listening. Did you have a comment or a question about that?
Yes, I've started listening on the internet over the last few months, and the first thing I noticed is that my telephone bill has started to rocket.
Oh, no. Because of all...
I think it's about the last bill was about 3 times my previous average.
Right.
Because of the internet listening I've been doing.
Right. Well...
But, what I also wanted to mention was that something rather curious happened at the turn of the year.
We got about 30 seconds, okay?
Big Ben went on strike.
Oh, no.
On Radio 4, it was announced, but silence. And then they apologized for the fact that they couldn't get Big Ben.
Oh, no. Well, I heard it here in Washington on shortwave myself, live. My family listened to it at dinner time last night.
Oh, right. So obviously there was a problem between Big Ben and Broadcasting House.
Right.
Radio 4.
Big Ben was okay. It was the circuit that failed.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for calling, Paul, and all the best in the new year.
Thank you, Kim.
All right. Well, that's all the time we're going to have for calls. Thank you, all of you who participated, and thanks to the rest of you for listening. If you can receive VOA News now at 22 Universal Time, I have a special program then, interviews with managers of international radio stations. Tomorrow, Talk to America returns. Rick Pantaleo will look back at the year 2002. I'm Kim Elliott in Washington. Best wishes for the new year. This is VOA, the voice of America.